Wayne Ashton, driver of the number 3 sprint car from Southern Ontario, Canada. Race at Ashwegan Speedway, which is south of Brantford. The most exciting racing you'll ever see. First of all, this is my first season in a full-size sprint car, as I've raced for 30 years, some odd years in other cars. I'd like to thank Tetrachem Industries. Been with me since 1989. Malou Blamey Construction, and recently Zanchin Truck and Trailer. Well, let's try to explain what a sprint car really is. The most ridiculous thing on a sprint car is the huge wing. It's 5 by 5 square feet, and the right rear tires. Tires on a sprint car are very big, as you can see. Easy to change. One wheel nut changes them. Similar to an Indy car, but we don't use air tools, we just use this big huge wheel wrench. Now this is a left rear I put on to make it easier to push, because when you have a lot of stagger in the car, it's really hard to push. And I'm pretty much a one-man band usually, so I've got a routine and I stick with it. Take this really light jack. I use the lightest jacks because, not only because, but we have my main pit crew is my wife and another lady that helps with Kathy Broslaw. So we try to make things easy as we can for the crew. We don't make pit stops during the race because the races are only generally 20 laps long, which is the main sprint car. The wheels are splined. We'll make our adjustments for loosening, like for handling. We'll move the wheel in and out, so we'll change spacers to move the wheels in or out to change the characteristics of the cars. Another very unique thing in a sprint car is they have a quick change rear end. We'll pull this back cover off and we can change the gear ratio in about 3 or 4 minutes. We have a collection of gears. These are the spur gears, they're called. We can change a ratio. I generally run anywhere from 597 to 648 gear ratio, but we have the potential to change from in the low 3s to the high 8s. We tried to run the engine at about 7,500 RPM. Has a special tack. I'll need a screwdriver. Special tack that shows our maximum RPM, and most guys have a tack will show your lowest RPM and highest RPM, and per lap it'll tape up to about 8 to 10 laps. The fuel they run on is methanol, 100% methanol. Reason behind this is what most people think is it's more dangerous, but it isn't. It's safer than gasoline. It can be put out with water because it will mix with water. Gasoline won't mix with water, so you can't use water. A lot of the body panels are held on by these aircraft fasteners, which are called Zeus buttons. So any body work, I can have this car stripped completely apart in probably about an hour with a little bit of help. I could have every bit and piece right down to the bare frame. Let me see here. We only run one rear brake because the rear tires are actually hooked together anyways on this main axle, which is aluminum, and one front brake. One torsion bar suspension, front and rear. We change different bars for different setups and different drivers and all. Nobody seems to use the exact same stuff. The wing is very adjustable. You can move it up and down for the tack angle. That's how you move it up and down. Most guys have a hydraulic system that you can move the wing back and forth. I chose not to use it this year because I had enough to think about, but we'll have it in for next year. Go back to the tires. We run this huge right rear. There's about 14 inches difference in circumference than the left rear. Reason why you do that is, we'll take this cup and use it as an example. This is your left rear wheel. This is your right rear wheel. We turn left all the time, or try to. And as you'll see, as soon as you get to the corner, the car already wants to turn, and that's why. Just a prop to show you how it works. We'll pull the wing off and show you some more. This is how big the sideboards are on the sprint car. Very big. What that's for, everybody wonders why they're staggered. When they're staggered, it's the same effect as having a board this big. And what that board is for, you can go in the corner wide open without even lifting. Probably about 130 mile an hour. And that's what stops the car from rolling over, hopefully. Now this is the front wing. It's just on here loosely, but it's also very adjustable. And what we usually do is tip it up just slightly higher than the top wing to shoot the air up over to get it onto the top wing, because you don't want it going into the chassis of the car, because it just slows things down. Now some of this stuff I've gotten ready to take off. The hood is held on with the aircraft fasteners. Again, Tetrachem Industries. They're the greatest. What we have here is a 360 cubic inch engine. Now this engine I built myself. Most guys are buying engines, cost them around $30,000. This one here still cost me about $12,000 in parts, and borrowed every piece of equipment I could find to build it. Now they're fuel injected, 2 7/16 injectors that are restricted down to 2 3/16 because of rules. These are washable air filters of K&N. Won't spend too much time on this. Try not to. This is after a night's racing. They're dirty. They need to be serviced every night. So there's a lot of service work between the scenes, or between the weeks. Straight axle front end, very simple, aluminum spindles. Again, torsion bar suspension, and very different range of shocks we use depending on what's going on. Aluminum radiator. No fan blade, because the alcohol the methanol will run cooler than gasoline. I've got the oil drained out and stuff because we're going to do a video of removing the engine later, and all the liquids are removed. There's no fan belts. The oil pump runs right off the front of the camshaft. The water pump runs off the crankshaft. There's no harmonic balancer like a normal car. Magneto ignition, similar to your lawnmower. There's no battery in the car, just this 9-volt battery, and the only reason we have that is to turn the oil warning light on. Now the way you start these cars, because there's no starter, battery, or anything other than what makes this car will run, you have to stop the car. You push it out onto the track, you put it into gear, which locks the rear end in. There's just a lever which is inside the car, and then a push truck will push you off. You turn the fuel on and the engine runs. Torque tube suspension, single master cylinder. There's no extras on this car at all. I don't even run padding in the seat. Very special harnesses. You wear arm restraints to keep your hands and arms from flying out the car if you do a rollover, which I've been upside down 2 times this year already. And that's about it. We'll move on to our other video shortly.